Hello. Let's start coordinate geometry. We are going to cover this in the series of CAT 25 quantitative aptitude. My name is Shashank, and let's start it. Coordinate geometry does not have a huge weightage in the exam. There are not a lot of questions that has been asked, but I won't say it's a very rare scenario that you are going to see a coordinate question. It's not very frequent topic, but it's not very rare topic as well. So every once in a while you get one question, maximum of two questions of coordinate geometry, but not very regularly. Once in a while you are going to get it. So in every couple of years there is going to be one or two questions of coordinate geometry. So not very important. So but still. Coordinate geometry helps us solving questions of algebra and geometry as well. So knowing coordinate helps you a lot. So let's start. So the first concept of let's start with the basic concepts of coordinate. So in coordinate, what happens that we have coordinate axis. So this is the axis we have. So one is horizontal line, second is vertical line. So horizontal line is called as x-axis, vertical line is called as y-axis. So we have two lines, horizontal and vertical. Okay. Okay. Now on the right, this point of intersection is called as origin, that is given by 0, 0. As you go to the right hand side, x is positive. When you go to left hand side, x is negative. When you go up side, that is y is positive. When you go down, y is negative. Now the quadrants. So basically, if you see this plane is divided into four parts, and all four parts are called as quadrants. So this is called as first quadrant, this is called as second quadrant, this is called as third quadrant, and this is called as fourth quadrant. So there are going to be four quadrants. Okay, so we have to work according to this. So first quadrant, if I'm going to talk about, it is right and up. So x should be positive and y should also be positive. If I talk about second quadrant, x is negative, y is positive. Third quadrant is both negative, it is left and down. And fourth quadrant is going to be x is positive and y is negative. So these are the fourth quadrants that we talk about. Okay. Now, if I'm going to talk about a particular point, okay. So let's say there is a point called this is 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. So if you see this point is x coordinate is 2, y coordinate is 3. So x is the distance on the horizontal line, y is distance on the vertical line. So basically this distance is 2, this distance is 3. So coordinate of this is 2, 3. If it is on the similar side, for example, this point, let's talk about 1, 2, 3, but we are going on the left hand side, so it is going to be -1, -2, -3, and let's say point is over here. So horizontal distance is 3, vertical distance is 2. So x won't be 3, it will be -3, and it is above, so y is going to be 2. So that's how we plot the points. Okay, so this is the plotting of the points. Now let's say if I am saying that there is a point called x1 comma y1, there is another point that is called as x2 comma y2. So there are a couple of formula that we are going to see. So let's call this point as p, let's call this point as q. So distance of pq is given to us by square root of x2 minus x1 whole square plus y2 minus y1 whole square. Okay. Now, there is a term that is called slope. So what is the slope of PQ? So slope is generally defined by M. M of PQ is going to be y2 minus y1 upon x2 minus x1. Okay, so this is the distance, then we got the slope. Then what is the midpoint of PQ? So midpoint is given by, midpoint of PQ is given by x1 plus x2 by 2 upon comma y1 plus y2 divided by 2. So basically we got midpoint of the coordinate points and this. Now let's say there is a point R. that divides PQ in the ratio of M is to N. So points of R's coordinate are given as M multiplied with the opposite value, so mx2 plus N multiplied by x1, so nx1 upon M plus N. Okay. Now this is the x coordinate, y coordinate is going to be my2 plus ny1 upon M plus N. So this is the x coordinate and the y coordinate. Okay, of the point that internally divides the line segment in the ratio of M is to N. Okay, and that's what we get. Okay, now if I'm going to talk about this, that let's say this x-axis is also a line, right? That's what we know. So if x-axis is already it's a line, so it must have an equation, it must have a slope, right? So what is the slope of x-axis? So the slope of x-axis is 0. Okay, slope of y-axis is infinity, right? So how we can calculate it? So basically, let's say this is 1, this is 2. So coordinate of this are going to be 1 comma 0, coordinate of this is going to be 2 comma 0. So we can calculate it as y2 minus y1 upon x2 minus x1. So slope comes out to be 0. Now if I'm going to talk about y-axis, so this is going to be 0 comma 1, this is going to be 0 comma 2. So slope of y-axis is defined as y2 minus y1 upon x2 minus x1, so that becomes infinity. So some people say that slope of y-axis is not defined. That's perfectly fine. The slope of x-axis is 0. That's perfectly fine. Okay. Now uh, any uh, any graph in coordinate is given by a equation, right? So line is a graph, right? So line, I can draw a line. So what is the standard equation of a line? So let's say this is a line and its equation is given by y is equal to mx plus c. What is m? M is the slope of this line. What is c? C, people consider it as a constant. It's not a constant. It is called as y-intercept. Now, what is y-intercept? Y-intercept is a point where the line intersects the y-axis, that is called y-intercept. So this is called as 0 comma c. Now this point is called as x-intercept, but when we talk about equation of line, the x-intercept is not really needed. Okay. Now the second important point is when lines are parallel. So when lines are parallel, then their slopes are equal. Then slopes are equal means m1 is equal to m2. So when lines are perpendicular, when lines are perpendicular, product of slope is equal to -1. So for parallel lines, slopes are equal. For perpendicular lines, product of the slope is equal to -1. So if you see x-axis is a line, so if x-axis is a line, it means this x-axis must have an equation. So what is the equation of x-axis? That is y equal to 0. Y-axis is also a line. So if y-axis is a line, it must have an equation. So what is the equation of y-axis? That is x equal to 0. Now let's talk about lines that are parallel to x-axis and parallel to y-axis. So parallel to x-axis is going to be what? Y equal to constant. So for example, y equal to 2, y equal to 3, y equal to 5. These are not the equations of, these are not the values of y, these are the equations of line. Now x equal to constant. So x equal to constant means x equal to so any line that's parallel to y-axis, it's given by x equal to constant. So now how it is perceived. So when I say mod x equal to 2, right? So you might say that x can have two values, that x is either 2 or x is -2, but in coordinate it actually represents a pair of lines. So x equal to 2 and x equal to -2. And what does it represents? So it represents two lines. One line is x equal to 2, that is this line. Second line is x equal to -2. So basically this actually becomes a pair of lines. So this kind of things are generally given in the exam. So when they talk about graph, when they talk about coordinate axis, so x equal to 2 will be considered as a line, not as something else. Okay. Okay, so this is the very basic concept. For example, if I say y is equal to mod y equal to 3, so what does it represent? It represents a pair of lines. So this is going to be uh, two lines. One is going to be y equal to 3, second is going to be y equal to minus 3. So two lines are going to be there. Now, there are certain graphs. I would say that I would recommend everyone to remember these graphs, because plotting these graphs sometimes during the exam becomes a little trickier. So if you just remember the graph, it is going to be very helpful to you. So for example, if I say y is equal to mod x, so y is equal to mod x is this graph. This point is called as 0, 0. Now, instead of that, you have a graph of y minus b is equal to mod of x minus a. So that is going to be a similar graph like this, and it is going to have starting points, base points as a comma b. That is one thing. Now the second is going to be mod of x minus a plus mod of x minus b is equal to c. Or I can say mod of x plus mod of y is equal to some constant, let's say c. So it is going to have a graph like this. So this point is going to be c comma 0. This point is going to be 0 comma c. This point is going to be 0 comma minus c. And this point is going to be minus c comma 0. So these kind of points are going to be here. But if you have this graph, so instead of that, you are going to have a graph like this, the similar graph. But instead of this point being origin, this point becomes a comma b. Now it is at x equal to a, this is c point ahead, this is c point above b, this is c point to the right of a, c point to the left of a, and accordingly whatever it is. Now the next graph, the important one, that is x plus y plus mod of x minus y, and that's equal to a, let's say constant. So if I am talking about, I'll go to this graph later on. So if I'm going to talk about this particular graph or this graph, and question asks about the area of this graph or this graph. So area of both the graphs is going to be same, right? Because if you say the figure is same, size is same, so everything is same, so area is going to be same. So basically when you add something, add or subtract something, so graph is shifted from one point to another point. That is called shifting of origin. So when you shift the origin, the area doesn't change. What changes is the location of the graph. That's it. So it is going to look like this. If I'm going to talk about this graph, that is going to be this. Okay. Now it is going to be what? This point is going to be a by 2, comma a by 2. This point is going to be minus a by 2, comma a by 2. This point is going to be minus a by 2, comma minus a by 2. And this point is going to be a by 2, comma minus a by 2. So these kind of graphs we can have. And in the exam, these kind of graphs has already been asked. So solving these, remembering these graphs is actually very important. So now let's move on to the question and see what kind of questions we have seen in the exam previously. But if you remember these graphs, the questions are going to be extremely easy for you. Now, the question says that the area enclosed by mod of x plus mod of y equal to 2. Just now we have seen that mod of x plus mod of y equal to c. What is the graph we are going to have? And question is talking about the area of that graph, right? And this is a question of CAT 2017. So what I'm going to do? I'm going to plot the graph first. So in coordinate, if you are not plotting the graph, you are imagining things, it won't work. So always plot the graph. So this point is going to be what? 2 comma 0. This point is going to be what? 0, 2. Okay. Now, if I am going to look at this is a right angle triangle. And in right angle triangle, this side is 2, this side is 2. So what is this area? That is going to be half into 2 into 2. So this area comes out to be 2. So if this area is 2, this also be 2, this will also be 2, this will also be 2. So overall area comes out to be 8. And that's my option C. Okay, that's fairly easy question if you remember what is this graph. Now let's move on to the next one. Okay. Now basically the shortest distance of a point from this to this. Okay. So first of all, what I'm going to do, I am going to plot this graph. So at x equal to 0, what is the value of this function? At x equal to 0, this becomes 1, this becomes 1. So the value of the function is going to be 2. Okay. At x equal to 1, what is the value of this function? So this becomes 0, this becomes 2. So at x equal to 1, the value of the function is going to be this. Okay. At x equal to minus 1, this will be minus 2 mod is 2, and this value becomes 0. So this is going to be this. So at x equal to 0, x equal to 1, this is how graph looks like. Let's put x equal to 2. So it is going to be what? Uh, this is 1 and this is going to be 3. So this is going to be 4. Okay. So at x equal to 2, the graph is going to be 4. Okay. Similarly on the left hand side, so my graph is actually going to look like this. So this is my graph. What did I do? I just put x equal to 0, x equal to 1, x equal to minus 1, x equal to 2, and I plotted the graph accordingly. Okay. The question is talking about the shortest distance from x equal to 1 by 2, and this value is, this is 0, 2. Okay. And this line is, I would say that this line is given to us as y equal to 2. Okay. So x is 1 by 2 means somewhere around here, and y is 1. So x is 1 by 2, y is 1. So that point is there. Question is talking about the shortest distance from this point to this graph. So this is the height is 2. This height I can say is 2. This height is 1. So what is the shortest distance? That is going to be 1 itself. Directly I can answer this question. So if you are going to think, you are going to draw the graph, you are going to draw perpendiculars and all those things, that instead of that, directly just plot the points, get the graph, get the answer. Things are going to be extremely easier for you. So in coordinate, what's important? That's the graph. Now let's move on to the next one. What does it say? Okay. Now it says that the points 2, 5 and 6, 3 are at 2 points at the end of 2 endpoints of diagonal of a rectangle. Okay. Okay. So one diagonal is 2, 5. Okay. Second diagonal is second point of the diagonal is 6, 3. Okay. So one diagonal is going to be look like something like this. Second diagonal is going to be something like this. I don't know what it is. Okay. And second diagonal does not have a points. It has equation that is y is equal to 3x plus c. Okay. What is the midpoint of this diagonal? So that is going to be 2 plus 6 divided by 2. So that is going to be 4. What is the midpoint of second diagonal? That is, y coordinate of the diagonal, that is 5 plus 3, that is 8. 8 divided by 2, that is 4. Now, the property of rectangle is diagonals bisect each other. It means if it is the midpoint of the first diagonal, it must be midpoint of second diagonal. So this point 4, 4 must lie on this line. So that's what I'm going to put. Y is equal to 4, x is equal to 4. So 3x becomes 12. This is C. So C comes out to be minus 8. So answer of this question is going to be option D. That is minus 8. So again, plot the points, draw the graph, understand, get the answer. That's not difficult in coordinate. Now let's say, so basically if you see, this question has been asked in 2017. The similar question has been asked in 2020 as well. And we are going to use the same property that midpoints of the diagonals of parallelogram always intersect bisect each other. Okay, so basically it says that there are two. This is my parallelogram, and this point are given to us, and this point and this point are lying on this particular line, and that's what question is talking about. Okay, so what is the midpoint of 2 and minus 3? That is going to be minus 1 by 2. Okay, what is the midpoint of this and this? That is going to be minus 3 by 2. Okay, and the question is talking about what is the value of c. Okay, so x is minus 1 by 2. This is going to be minus 27 divided by 2 plus c, and that's equal to 0. So this is going to be minus 28 divided by 2 plus c, and that's equal to 0. So from here I can say that c is equal to 14, and that's the answer of this question. So the questions are not going to be very difficult. Again, draw the graph, understand how geometry and coordinate geometry are interconnected. Okay, now this one. ABCD is a parallelogram. Coordinate of three vertices ABC are this, then the coordinate of fourth vertex. So if you see, the similar questions has been asked multiple times. So question number two, question number 3, 2017, the similar question. Question number 2020, similar question. Question number 2022, similar question, and it is talking about the vertices of D. Okay, so basically ABCD is a parallelogram. So A is what? 1, 1. B is what? 3, 4. C is what? Minus 2, 8. And D is what? X, Y. So midpoint of this is going to be 1 minus 2, that is minus 1 upon 2, comma 1 plus 8 by 2, that is going to be 9 by 2. What is the midpoint of this and this? That is going to be 3 plus x divided by 2, okay, comma 4 plus y divided by 2. Okay, so it means minus 1 by 2 should be equal to 3 plus x divided by 2. Okay, 2 cancels out, it means x should be equal to minus 4, and that's there only in one option. That's the answer. So that's how we can get the answer of these kind of questions. And if you think that CAT doesn't ask similar type of questions, yes, they do. So and these three questions that we have discussed are sitters. You can directly solve the questions very easily. I think apart from question number 2, even first question was extremely easy if you know the graph. I've already told you the important graphs. And we are going to take few more questions of coordinate geometry in the next session. And till then, thank you. And again, anyone has any doubt, you can just drop a message on the comment section, and we'll be happy to get back to you.